Open your microwave right now. Go on, pull the door open and have a proper look at the inside of it. Not a quick glance, a real look. Look up at the roof of it, look at the back wall, look around the edges of the door. If you are anything like most people, what is staring back at you is a little horror show. Dried-on splatter, hardened sauce, brown-baked grease, and crusty little explosions of food that have welded themselves to the walls every single time you pressed start. And then there is the smell. That sour, faintly burnt odor that drifts out every time you reheat a coffee or warm up last night's dinner. You have almost certainly tried to fight it. You grabbed a sponge, sprayed some kitchen cleaner, scrubbed until your arm ached, and still the stuff baked into the corners would not shift. And now your food carries a faint chemical tang. So you gave up and just shut the door on it. Here is the thing though. In Japan, the inside of a microwave does not look like this. And it is not because they scrub harder or own better machines. It is because they understood something about steam, food, and basic physics that turns this whole miserable job into a 3-minute task using nothing more than a bowl of water. No chemicals, no scrubbing, no scratched up interior. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to do it. Before we get to the method, you need to understand why your microwave gets so revolting in the first place. Because once you see it, the solution becomes obvious. A microwave does not heat food the way an oven does. An oven warms the air, and the hot air slowly cooks the food from the outside in. A microwave does something far stranger. It fires invisible electromagnetic waves straight into your food, and those waves grab onto the water molecules inside it. The water molecules start vibrating violently, millions of times a second, and that friction is what produces the heat. Your food essentially cooks itself from the inside out. Now here is the problem. Every food you put in there is full of water and fat. As those water molecules heat up, they expand and they turn to steam. Inside a bowl of soup or a plate of pasta, little pockets of steam build up underneath the surface until they burst. And when they burst, they fling tiny droplets of sauce, fat, and food in every direction at high speed. That is the popping sound you hear. Every pop is another spray of food hitting the walls, the roof, and the door of your microwave. And then comes the part that makes it so hard to clean. The walls of the microwave are still being hit by those same waves. So the food that just splattered onto them does not just sit there wet. It gets cooked. It gets baked on, hardened, and fused to the surface, layer upon layer, meal after meal. A splash of tomato sauce that would wipe off a cold plate in 2 seconds becomes a cement-hard brown crust once it has been microwaved 20 more times. This is why a microwave is genuinely one of the most stubborn things in your kitchen to clean. You are not dealing with fresh mess. You are dealing with food that has been repeatedly baked onto the surface at high speed. And the longer you leave it, the more layers stack up, and the harder that crust becomes. So most people reach for the obvious weapons, and most people make things worse. The first instinct is to grab an abrasive sponge or a scouring pad and just go at it with brute force. The trouble is that the inside of your microwave is not bare metal. It is coated. Most cavities have a painted enamel, ceramic, or acrylic coating designed to reflect the waves evenly and protect the metal underneath. When you scrub that coating with a rough green scourer or a metal pad, you scratch it. Those scratches trap food even more easily next time. They can start to rust, and in the worst cases, a deeply scratched cavity can actually cause arcing and sparking. So the harder you scrub, the faster you wreck the very surface you're trying to clean. The second instinct is to reach for strong chemical sprays. Oven cleaners, bleach-based sprays, heavy degreasers. And yes, they cut grease, but think about where you're spraying them. This is the box where you heat your children's food, your morning porridge, your cup of tea. Those chemicals soak into the corners, into the door seal, into the little vents, and they linger. The next time you heat something uncovered, You are warming up the residue along with your meal. You end up trading a food smell for a chemical one. And neither the scrubbing nor the spraying solves the real issue, which is that the grime is baked on. You cannot dissolve a baked-on crust by force or by poison. You have to soften it first. And softening it is exactly what the Japanese method does. To understand why this works, it helps to understand how the Japanese think about cleaning in the first place, because it is genuinely different. In Japan, there is a concept called suji. It translates roughly as cleaning, but it carries far more weight than that English word suggests. Suji is not a chore you do when things get unbearable. It is a daily practice, almost a discipline, rooted in centuries of Zen Buddhist and Shinto tradition, where keeping a space clean is treated as a form of respect and even spiritual clarity. In Japanese schools, there are no janitors. From the age of 6, children clean their own classrooms, wipe their own desks, and scrub their own corridors every single day after lunch. The message is wired in early. Looking after your space is your responsibility, and doing it well, with the least fuss and the least waste, is something to take pride in. There is another Japanese idea that matters here, called morinai, a deep sense of regret over waste. Using a cupboard full of expensive chemical sprays and disposable wipes to do a job that a single bowl of water can handle would strike a Japanese household as genuinely wasteful. So instead of overpowering the problem with force and product, they outsmart it with physics. And the physics here is steam. Here is what steam actually does to that baked-on crust, and why it works where scrubbing fails. When you heat a bowl of water in the microwave, the water boils and fills the entire sealed cavity with hot vapor. That vapor is desperate to find a cooler surface to settle on, and the walls, the roof, and the door of the microwave are exactly that. So the steam condenses all over every interior surface, coating it in a film of hot water that gets into every corner, every seam, and every spot your sponge could never reach. And here is the clever part. That hot water film soaks into the hardened food crust and rehydrates it. The baked-on grease and sauce that was welded to the wall absorbs the moisture, swells, and loosens its grip on the surface. The steam is doing the softening for you, gently, everywhere at once, with no force at all. What took months to bake on gets reversed in a couple of minutes of contact with hot vapor. After that, the crust that you could not chip off with a fingernail will literally wipe away with one pass of a damp cloth. You are not scrubbing the dirt off. You are dissolving the bond that held it there. So let us go through the method itself, step by step, exactly as it is done. You will need 3 things: a microwave-safe bowl, water, and a cloth. That is the whole shopping list. Start by filling a microwave-safe bowl, glass or ceramic, never metal, with around 1 cup, roughly 250 milliliters of water. Now you can use plain water and it will work, but this is where you can make it far better with one tiny addition. Cut a lemon in half, squeeze both halves into the water, and then drop the squeezed halves into the bowl as well. The lemon does 2 jobs. The citric acid in it helps cut through grease, and it leaves the whole cavity smelling fresh and clean instead of like old dinners. If you do not have a lemon, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar in the water does the same job. Vinegar is a mild acid that breaks down grease and neutralizes odor, though it has a sharper smell while you work. Put the bowl in the center of the microwave. Now turn it on full power for 5 minutes. You want the water to come to a rolling boil and keep boiling so the cavity fills completely with steam. You will see the door fog up. That fog is the whole point. It means every surface is being coated. And now comes the single most important step, the one that almost everybody gets wrong. When the timer goes off, do not open the door. I will say that again because it matters. Do not open the door. Leave it shut for at least 3 minutes, and 5 is even better. If you open it straight away, all that lovely hot steam escapes in one rush, and you lose the softening effect just as it is getting to work. By keeping the door closed, You trap the steam against the walls and let it keep soaking into the grime. The cavity also stays hot, which keeps the condensation cycle going. So set another timer, walk away, and let the physics do the labor. After those few minutes, open the door carefully. There will be hot steam, so keep your face back and let the first cloud out. Lift out the bowl, but mind it, because that water will be scalding hot. Now take a soft cloth. A microfiber cloth is ideal. Dampen it and simply wipe the inside down. Start at the roof, then the back, then the sides, then the door, and finish with the floor, so all the loosened debris collects at the bottom and wipes out last. You will feel that crust that defeated you for months come away with almost no pressure at all. For any really stubborn spot, dip a corner of the cloth into the hot lemon water you just removed and hold it against the mark for a few seconds. It will surrender. One quick safety note worth knowing, because it genuinely matters. If you heat completely plain, pure water in a very smooth, very clean container, it can occasionally do something called superheating. The water climbs past its boiling point without actually bubbling, because there is nothing in it for bubbles to form around. And then the moment you move the bowl or drop something in, it erupts all at once and can scald you. The good news is that the lemon or the vinegar we are already adding fixes this completely. The little bits of pulp and the acid give the bubbles something to cling to, so the water boils normally and safely. If you ever do steam with plain water on its own, just pop a wooden cocktail stick or the handle of a wooden spoon into the bowl for the same reason. A tiny detail, but well worth a mention. Now there are a few parts of the microwave that people forget entirely, and these are where the real smells and the real grime hide. The first is the turntable, that glass plate at the bottom. Lift it out completely. It is just glass and it is dishwasher safe, so either pop it in the dishwasher or wash it in hot soapy water in the sink like any plate. Underneath it is the little roller ring and the well it sits in, and that hidden well is usually full of crumbs, dried spills, and sticky residue that you never see. Wipe that out properly while the plate is soaking. The second forgotten spot is the roof of the cavity, directly above where the food sits. Because gravity pulls splatter down, but steam and grease also rise, the ceiling collects a surprising amount of baked-on grime, and almost nobody wipes it. After your steam treatment, it will clean easily, so do not skip it. The third is the door. Wipe both the inside of the door and, crucially, the rubber or plastic seal around its edge, and the little ledge at the bottom of the door opening, where liquid runs down and dries. That edge is very often the source of the worst smell. There is one part you must be careful with, and that is the waveguide cover. On the inside wall of most microwaves, usually on the right-hand side or up on the roof, there is a small rectangular panel, often a slightly different color, made of a material called mica. That panel covers the opening where the microwaves actually enter the cavity, and it matters. You should wipe it gently with your damp cloth to remove grease, because a greasy waveguide cover can start to char and spark. But do not scrub it hard, do not soak it, and never pull it off. Just a soft, careful wipe is all it needs. If it is ever cracked or burnt, that is a job to replace rather than ignore, because a clean, intact waveguide cover is part of running the appliance safely. What about a microwave that still smells even after it looks clean? Sometimes the odor has soaked in deep, especially after someone burns popcorn or reheats fish. For that, do one more round of the steam treatment, but this time add a couple of tablespoons of bicarbonate of soda to the water, along with the lemon. Bicarbonate of soda is a natural deodorizer. It does not mask smells, it neutralizes them. Steam that solution through, wipe down, and then, as a final touch, leave a small open bowl of dry bicarbonate of soda sitting inside the closed microwave overnight. It will quietly absorb any lingering odor by morning, the same way a box of it freshens up a fridge. Tip it out, give the cavity a quick wipe, and the smell will be gone rather than covered up. And this brings us to the part the Japanese approach really cares about, which is making sure you never have to do a big clean again. Restoration is only half the job. Prevention is the other half, and it costs you almost nothing. The single biggest habit is this: cover your food before you heat it. A microwave-safe lid, a plate set on top of the bowl, or a sheet of kitchen paper over it. That one barrier stops the vast majority of the splatter before it ever reaches the walls. The second habit is to wipe spills while they are fresh and still warm. If something does bubble over, give the inside a quick 10-second wipe with a damp cloth once it has cooled enough to touch, before that splash gets baked on by the next 20 meals. Fresh mess wipes away in seconds. Old mess needs a steam treatment. The third habit is to run the quick lemon water steam once a week, even when it looks fine. 2 minutes of boiling, a quick wipe, and the grime never gets a chance to build up in the first place. And one last small trick. After you finish cooking, leave the door open for a minute or two to let the cavity dry out and air, instead of sealing all that moisture and food smell inside. That is the whole system. A bowl of water, a lemon, a cloth, and an understanding of why steam beats scrubbing every single time. No harsh chemicals near the box where you heat your food. No scratched up interior from scouring pads. No 20-minute battle on a Sunday afternoon. Just 3 minutes of steam doing the work that force never could, and a couple of small daily habits that mean you never face that baked-on horror show again. Your microwave was never impossible to clean. You were just fighting baked-on food with the wrong weapon. Now you know the right one. If this was useful to you, do hit that subscribe button. Every week on this channel, we break down simple Japanese methods that solve everyday household problems with almost nothing and save you real time and real money. And before you go, tell me down in the comments, which appliance in your kitchen do you dread cleaning the most? And has anyone in your home ever managed to set off the smoke alarm with burnt microwave popcorn? I read every reply. The next time you open that microwave door, it is going to look like the day you bought it.